what you see here is our ideas for next generation iDrive. So you probably, and I'm going to turn down Ricky. Oh, that's over there. You probably know our existing controller with which we control our iDrive system. And here we have done some modifications to the iDrive system based on customer feedback, which, for example, introduces us now to what you see on the right side, the so-called preview. The preview gives an idea of more and more complex structures, where to find things, what will be the next step. So this is one of the introductions that we've made. You also see we cleaned up the main menu a little bit. It's a little bit slicker, larger letters for easier orientation and more combined information. But we also thought very much about the feedback that we get from around the world that touch would be a preferred form of entry. And as touch has succeeded so much with tablets, phones, and also technology has come so far, allowing touch gestures and very computing power has allowed us now to actually interact very seamlessly. We have tried the approach here if we could integrate our controller-based system and add a touch functionality to it. So I will show you that you can actually touch the functions and then enter the functions just as you would expect it. We will also support swipe gestures in case you want to touch a little different. We will also have pinch and zoom gestures for the map and all these kind of things, and we're just testing if this will be applicable for our systems. What we're also showing here is that we want to know and enhance the advantages of both systems. So we have the controller system with its advantages of blind, less distractive interaction, but we also show you some of the shortcuts that you can achieve when using a direct touch system. For example, you have an incoming message. You see in the status bar, hey, I have 4 incoming messages, and you can just touch there. And as you expect, we would open the notification center. So something that is easier with touch because you can use the full 2 dimensions of the screen, we will support. And if your phone supports, we will show you SMS, email, missed calls, taken calls, traffic alerts from the car, whatever we can gather in information and is valuable to you, we will have in this notification center available to you. What we will also do is, and let's take a case you want to call somebody, you use the keypad, you want to enter a number, you can either use the round speller, as in the past, but you could also start touching it. The round speller, though, is not very helpful for touching. So if I get closer to the screen will recognize that I changed to a touch function and will actually adjust the screen. The same applies for navigation input when you have a longer address to put. You still can use our controller, go back, and then it will switch back. And you can also, which is not implemented here, write on the controller like in the cars, like in the M4 that is over there.
Is it updatable for the current systems, or not? This is a complete new model?
This is still research. Still research. So we're not in serious production or anywhere near. So this applies for all of these applications, and you can fully redundantly use the controller, and you see when I come close to the touchscreen, I can use the touchscreen. But in order to show you a little bit more and make this a little magic, you got to come back a little bit with your camera, please, and then I show you something what we've also introduced right here. You can use gestures to actually interact with the system. So I can turn up the music volume, I can turn it back by just moving my finger in the air. So these are these interactions are very intuitive, very helpful, very careful, and still you can move around and the camera will not have a false detection. So we have very carefully...
Where is the detection?
The detection is up here. There's a camera up in the roof mounted. It's a time of flight camera, but a very simple technology, so to say. What we also can do with gestures is, imagine you have an incoming call, you're driving the freeway, Andy is calling you, it's your best friend, you really want to talk to Andy, so you just use the gesture to pick up the call. And while you're talking and while you're on the phone, you can still, you know, southern countries are going to be very talkative, and so you can still use gestures, but they won't be picked up. It's a very robust system that will only use gestures of that kind in a context-central way. While this is a global gesture working everywhere, the other gestures for pointing and swiping will only work contextually driven. So if I have an incoming call and it's Barry and I really don't like Barry, I just tell Barry to get lost, right? Or talk to my voicemail. I would try to be polite. So we have contextual messages that will actually answer to pop-ups. Call is just one series of pop-ups. We will have more pop-ups, messages, notifications. You can either confirm or decline. What we've also thought about is to enhance BMW's technologies of functional bookmarks, where you can actually store anything that is in the iDrive system. So from favorite radio station, your spouse number, your home address, your work address, the sports dials for the M4 or any other car, the Bluetooth connection, whatever you want to have, connect to Drive Store. Utilize this also for using a gesture that you can freely program. So if I use this gesture, in this case it takes me home. So I immediately can start the navigation, I can hop in the car, just use this gesture, start navigation, it will take you home.
Can you repeat this gesture?
I can show you even more. I can repeat the gesture. If you don't like taking me home, we can give you a selection of things that you can put to the gesture, for example, display off. And if I'm driving at night, the illumination is just too much, I don't need my system, I can do the gesture and it will turn off the screen. And if you need some information to the screen, you just turn it back on. And the list is available and longer, and we will define useful things that you could put to this bookmark gesture, which is, and you see I touch, I control. The gesture recognition is very robust and will only pick up what is actually needed.
Can you make your own gestures, like 3 fingers or 4 fingers?
No.
Or, no, it's... No.
Not at the moment. We are looking into this, but we want to avoid people using gestures in the car that could be harmful. And actually, gesture is communication.